About a week ago, a man walked into a mall to murder multiple people, and he was stopped by a citizen executing his constitutional rights. Do I know the name of the murderer? Maybe. Do I care? No. But you know whose name I do know? Elisha Dicken.
Dick them down.
Today on Garand Thumb, we'll be running the Dicken drill. 40 yards, 10 rounds, 15 seconds.
Shooter ready? Stand by. So that was 11 shots, 735, first shot 198.
Not bad. Charlie, you want to run it?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. Nice, 10, 7, 2, 8, clean. Let's go check it out. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 alpha, 2 Charlie, and we got 1 delta that I threw over there. Not bad. Charlie?
Yep.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 alpha, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Good job, man.
Thank you.
Now, before we talk about pieces of shit, we have to, of course, thank the biggest sponsor of the channel is who?
Desert Snoring Institute.
You know, the Sonoran Desert Institute. If you guys are looking to get your start in gunsmithing, we have to give them a big shout out. A big thank you to them for sponsoring the channel. Of course, the sponsor for this particular video, Primary Arms.
Primary Arms.
Big thank you to them. Awesome optics, great price. Go and check them out. They absolutely rock. We, of course, can't forget what, Micah?
Which one? Onward Research or the Patreon?
They're both bussin'.
Both bus, Onward Research.
Onward Research is how you, if you're single and you've been curious why you can't get girls, you buy a hat and you won't be single anymore.
Yeah, you get a Scuffalo hat, 9 months later you have a baby.
Don't forget as well the Patreon, all the worst things that could possibly be posted, and me answering questions. Quick shout out to LAS Concealment, you guys rock. I guess what we're talking about today is a little more serious than what we usually do.
Yep.
In the United States, we're blessed. You're probably gonna live a very peaceful life, but there could be a moment, could be an hour from now, weeks, maybe even years, that there's gonna be somebody out there who's training right now. They are lifting, they are running, they are shooting, they are getting ready. And they don't know it yet, but that is going to be a confrontation with you. And everything that you have done up until that point, whenever it is, will determine whether or not you live or die. Not just yourself, could be your family, could be your kids, could be innocent bystanders, and your actions that you take from this day forward could be the difference between people living and people dying. What we talk about when we talk about concealed carry is important. If you're not ready, if you're not trained, you're gonna fucking die. Nobody cares whether or not you are ready. That is completely and utterly up to you. The world isn't fair and nothing about it is ever fair. It doesn't matter what gun you're carrying and that somebody else has a better weapon than you, because all that matters in that moment is gonna be how prepared you are.
Today we're gonna talk about Elisha Dicken. He's a dude who was ready. He was
a savage.
He was a savage.
He was a straight savage, dude.
He was prepared to defend himself, his family, whoever was with him at the time, and ultimately countless lives in that location.
Yeah, we don't know what the outcome would have been had he not been there, but he was ready. So let's talk a little bit about Elisha Dicken, because I think there are a lot of good lessons that we can take from him. Obviously at this point, guys, we don't know the entire facts. In fact, we don't even know how the entire shooting went. Whether he fired all of his rounds from 40, whether he advanced and fired, it doesn't matter though. What matters is the example that he set, which is when gunfire started, he didn't run, he confronted it. The first thing that we can glean from Elisha is that we know this man was hot on concealed carry. Elisha Dicken got his concealed carry permit at 21 years old. What we can glean from that is the moment the government allowed him to carry, he did so. And to be clear, Indiana now does have constitutional carry, which is freaking awesome. But we know that this guy was prepared and ready, because the minute he could, he put the things that needed to be in place to ensure that he could conceal carry.
It's not even that he was prepared to totally win that gunfight. He was prepared to go in it with the mindset, at least he needs to make the piece of shit lose more.
His actions were nothing short of heroic. He engaged the gunman from quite a distance with a handgun, was very proficient in that, very tactically sound, and as he moved to close in on the suspect, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him. He has, to our knowledge, he has no police training and no military background.
This right here is one of my favorite clips from this entire thing, because a lot of the, I guess you could say, general public who aren't familiar with the gun culture and the people who shoot, they think it's a bunch of ex-military guys and stuff or something like that. I love that this guy didn't have any law enforcement or military experience, because that is what's so important. It's just a citizen exercising his God-given rights. You are allowed to train and to be extremely good at these, and you don't need to be a law enforcement officer or be in the military. I served in the military. I'm an okay shot. Charlie didn't, and Charlie is a freaking great shot. Lucas Botkin never served in law enforcement military, and he's a phenomenal shot.
Yeah.
You don't need to have gotten this professional training to be good at shooting. You need to have simply trained. And I think that's one thing that we can certainly glean, because this guy with no training, 10 rounds, nailed this kid, what, 8 times out of 10?
It was a great example of you get what you put in, you know. It doesn't always have to be on the range. It could be dry fire at home, and it really showed through his actions.
I bet friends, maybe close family, relatives, whoever, maybe even called him crazy. You carry a gun everywhere? Okay.
It's a good point. And actually, you know, they have mentioned that his grandfather trained him. Now, I think that's pretty cool right there. That's a family tradition of shooting. That's also an important thing that we've talked about in the past, teaching your kids not just gun safety, but also training them. And Micah, you grew up shooting 22s.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the pasture. My grandpa taught me everything I know.
Exactly. So I think that is one important fact to glean from it as well. And that brings us to another fact that we know, which is that his grandfather, at least to some extent or another, trained him how to shoot. I know me personally, like I grew up shooting 22s in my backyard with my dad. Like that was something that's really near and dear to me. And that's what we talk a lot about on Garand Thumb, is not just training yourself, but training your kids, right?
Yeah.
Instilling in them that love of firearms, that mindset that these are important tools. Obviously you can have fun, but ultimately, why do we use these?
Yeah, and you can see it. One example that I think of, I have a buddy and his son on Instagram. It's that kid Pew. They're meant to be some underscores, something like that. And I've seen him outshoot grown adults, dudes who have been in the military for years. I've seen him just absolutely savage at the range.
You'll love to see it, man.
Yeah.
You absolutely love to see it. Now, here's what's really interesting to me. Now, a lot of people will say, well, how dedicated to concealed carrying was he? Well, we know he was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. And if you know anything about last weekend, it was record temperatures.
Yeah.
So despite hot heat, I know that deters me sometimes from carrying, and it shouldn't.
Sure.
But this kid still was concealed carrying. That tells me a lot about him right there.
Yeah.
So even in this hot ass weather, this man still came strapped, cold as ice, and put that murder straight into the ground. Fuck that kid.
Yep, piece of shit. Now he's dead.
Not only this, but it's important to note that the piece of shit who walked in there to commit murder was also a pretty small little guy.
Yeah, I think in common culture they would call that a twink.
So another thing to think about to make this even more impressive is not only is this guy smaller, but more than likely this guy was bladed to Elijah. So not only was it presenting a smaller target on its own, he's probably at an angle. That's a tough shot. So this guy really was putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, not that, the adrenaline that must have been going through Elijah. It's incredible. 8 out of 10 shots, 15 seconds from what we know right now.
I know you're out there,
wild.
buddy.
Yeah.
We're proud of you. Fucking proud of you. A lot of people say that shooting past 7 yards is crazy. And it's something we regularly train to. So if you're not familiar, if you're not from the gun world, these long shots with pistols aren't difficult. In fact, they're pretty easy to train to, and it's something we certainly recommend. Right now, we're at about 60 yards. Charlie, you ready to make one shot on steel?
Yeah, let's do it.
Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. .197. Right, let's back it up. 90 with the pistol, very doable.
Shooter ready?
Yep.
Stand by. 224.
Sick. Let's try 120. 2 rounds, 120. That way you don't say it's a fluke.
Shooter, ready?
Once you're gonna be in a situation where there's a shooting and the bullets start flying and your kids are screaming for you, every law that's been enacted, every politician you've ever voted for, every day you didn't train, every day you did or didn't train, it doesn't matter, man. It's just about you. Like we used to say when I was a SEER instructor, nobody's coming to save you, it's up to us. You're on your own at that point. Make sure that you train to a level that you feel is acceptable to you, where you're gonna be able to preserve that life as necessary.
Yeah, it's like you said, no one's coming to save you. Your government isn't gonna come save you. It's pretty clear that your local police department, there's a high chance they're definitely not gonna come save you. And it's your sole responsibility to protect you and protect your family.
As we've talked about, there's only one thing that really matters here. That's gonna be training. Get good training. Doesn't have to be professional. You sit in front of your screen. I snap in all day on my TV screen. Get out there, train, guys. That's what matters. This world, day by day, is getting a little bit crazier. Be that good example. Be that good person out there. Have compassion, train, and be ready.
Be prepared, or be that face in the obituary.